There are many locations and zones in classic WoW. Some places you go to very often and some places are pretty secret. Some of the locations on this list are so secret that pretty much nobody knows they exist, as to get to some of the places on this list is really complicated. So with that being said, here are 7 secret locations in classic WoW. Starting off at number 7 is the STONETALON logging camp. In STONETALON Mountains, you guys would have come here at about level 15 if you're playing as a horde character. However, have you ever considered what is beyond these mountains? In fact, this zone is surrounded by a lot of mountains with a lot of glitchy terrain beyond them. If you go to this night elf architecture, you can actually do some wall jumping on the side and then you can jump down on top of the roof. From there you can jump to the other side and you can go up the mountains so that you can technically go out of bounds. Now there's a lot to say about this glitchy terrain that you can see. However, if you go down south a little bit, you will see something very interesting down at the bottom of the map. As you can see, there's a bunch of buildings just randomly in the middle of nowhere. And I do mean the middle of nowhere. The place that you can see here is nowhere on the map. You are technically still in the mountains. So if you manage to get down here without dying, you can see that this place is quite detailed. There looks to be various buildings around here, including a busted goblin shredder and an aeroplane. And if you go down further, you can see that there's even more structures. It looks to be some kind of human logging camp. Perhaps this could have been an alliance base that never got implemented into the game. Or this could be some kind of quest hub where you would have to go here as a horde player and kill some of the guys here. I am pretty sure that this would have been the case because if you look around, you can actually see that there's a cave leading off into nowhere. If you walk up to this cave, your camera kinda glitches out and you can see through a mountain. But if I was to hazard a guess, I would say that there would have been a tunnel connecting to this cave entrance where you can go from STONETALON Mountains to this place. And it would be some kind of location to do quest objectives. Like maybe kill some human loggers and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, Blizzard never implemented this into the game and it just kinda got stuck in developmental limbo, right in the middle of the out of bounds mountains. Whatever Blizzard was planning to do with this place, it never got finished. Number 6 on this list is the South Seas Islands. So this place is really fascinating. If you go to the bottom part of Daenerys, you will see a bunch of these snapjaw turtles. However, if you look off into the distance, you can see that there's a bunch of islands way off past the fatigue line. And I do mean past the fatigue line. If you just try to swim here by yourself, you will die pretty quickly. It's so far away that you actually need some way to walk on water and you need movement speed increases. Fortunately, as a shaman, I can use the water walking spell and I can manage to cross the sea and get to these islands pretty easily, assuming that I have some kind of speed potion. So as you can see, this place is quite detailed. For some islands that are way off past the fatigue line, Blizzard puts quite a lot of effort into this place. You can see there's a bunch of gnomish architecture that has quite a lot of detail put into it. And the craziest thing is that you can actually find some NPCs here. There are a bunch of mobs that you can find throughout Daenerys that seem to have managed to get onto this island. You can find various beasts and some pirates. There are 2 islands and 1 structure in between them, which is kind of like the goblin oil rig, I guess you could say. There's not much to say about the oil rig, I mean it's kind of empty, but the second island has quite a lot of pirates, and there's a mound of dirt next to a shovel. So I'm guessing lore-wise, these pirates are trying to dig for some treasure. That has to be the only explanation as to why they're here, but whoever created these structures, these gnomish buildings, are long gone. This place was actually used in a part of the Scarab Lord questline, where a player would actually have to figure out a way to get to this island. But for most players, there's no reason to go here, as it's kinda just left in the middle of the Fatigue Ocean. So there's no way that you would come here just by yourself, unless you are really curious. Number 5 on this list is the Tiger Cave. So guys, back in the day of Classic WoW when it just came out, this was a huge rumor, and what spurred this rumor on is because in the database of World of Warcraft, there is an item called the Bengal Tiger. So this mount was in the data files, but nobody figured out a way to actually find it in the game. So people came up with all kinds of rumors as to how to get the Bengal Tiger mount, as this was in the game files and you could see it's a very cool looking model. But how to get it? Nobody figured out a way to do it, but one of the biggest theories is this secret location that is way off out of bounds in Stranglethorn Vale. If you do some tricky wall jumping at the start of the Badlands and you manage to walk across a long stretch of land, you will come across an oddly detailed place. After you get past all of the glitchy terrain, you will see a zone that actually looks to be somewhat legit, and you can see a tree log that you can walk across. There's also a bunch of doodads and stuff, so it kind of signifies that this would have been an actual place in the game, and not just some random structure in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to emphasize how out of the way this place is, as the only way to access this cave is through the method that I just spoke about. However, people connected this secret cave with the Bengal tiger mount. People came up with all kinds of theories as to how to get an NPC to spawn that would then give you the mount. It was all just wishful thinking, but what is definitely true is that this place is very interesting. There's a bunch of chains with meats attached to it coming down from the cave, as well as some animal leather that is hooked up. So people speculated that this was tiger pelts, and that's all it took to start the rumor of the Bengal tiger mount coming from this place. It's still a mystery as to what this cave was initially designed to be, but being almost 15 years later, we'll never know. Okay, number 4 on this list is the hidden Undercity tier. Undercity is one of the coolest cities in World of Warcraft. This place has so much atmosphere and it's so lore heavy, it's hard to dislike this place. Although it's kind of complicated to get from point A to B, the aesthetic of this place is really cool. So you may think that you've seen all of Undercity, however there is a whole floor that is hidden from your view. And I am not even joking. The Undercity has its own floor that you can't actually access through normal means. You actually have to do some wall jumping to access the upper tier of Undercity. This place has quite a surprising amount of detail put into it. Considering that this is just technically part of the background and you're not supposed to go here, there's a lot of boxes and tables and stuff. There's quite a lot of effort put into this place. This hidden ledge that is just above Undercity, overlooking the quarters, has multiple hallways going to different parts, and this place looks really legit. Maybe there was plans to be a staircase going up to this place where it would be populated with NPCs, but Blizzard decided against it. It's just kind of unusual for there to be so much detail put into a part of Undercity that you can't even see. But either way, this is just very cool. And I'm sure a lot of you guys never knew this part of the Undercity actually existed. Number 3 on this list is the underwater mining village. So guys, have you ever looked off in the ocean of World of Warcraft and wondered what is past the fatigue line? I spoke about the South Seas Islands being something past the fatigue line that is hard to access, but there is a thing in Tanaris that is way off past the fatigue line that is even harder to access than the South Seas Islands. There is a secret way at the bottom of the ocean bed that you can't actually access through normal means, because it is so ridiculously far from where you would normally die from either breathing or the fatigue damage. The only way to see this is through a map viewer, and way past the fatigue line, super far down in the ocean, you can see there's actually some buildings just randomly at the bottom of the seabed. It's pretty much in the top corner of the map of Tanaris, but if you take a look, you can see that there's a bunch of gnomish architecture just randomly here, in addition to a bunch of stuff on the floor. It's so random that this is just here, because there would absolutely be no way that you would find this by playing the game normally. Why did Blizzard put this place here? It's kind of fascinating that in the most inhospitable place in WoW, you can find a secret like this. This is what I love about exploration. You can find things seemingly in the middle of nowhere, such as this really cool mining village. I'm really curious as to why Blizzard put this here. Was it just some developer testing something? Or were they creating a draft for a city that they would create in another location? It's impossible to say, but this is definitely one of the most secret places in the game's history. Number 2 on this list is the Hidden Dwarf Farm. So this place is in Hinterlands, and I'm sure quite a few of you guys will know of this, especially if you've been playing Classic WoW when it came out. So in Hinterlands, if you actually swim on the coastline, you will come across a random dwarven farm. And I do mean random. This is just randomly in the coastline, and there's no quest or anything telling you to go here. Coming here, you can see there's a bunch of fields that are growing some kind of crops and a scarecrow, as well as a stable that actually has some ram NPCs. There's also a house that has a dwarven farmer who is a level 15 civilian NPC. Although that being said, if you're an alliance, I don't think there's any way to interact with this guy. He's just sleeping on this bed and I don't think you can do anything with him. There's also another one of these NPCs that is tending to the fields. For some reason, Blizzard likes to hide some weird Easter eggs in the middle of nowhere, and this is a good example of one of them. I'm not sure why this is here. Perhaps this would have been an alliance hub that is pretty close to the Horde hub, but I'm not sure. This could just be an Easter egg. Okay, number 1 on this list is the SHATTERSPEAR village. Talking about secret locations in WoW in the middle of nowhere, I have to mention the SHATTERSPEAR village. You can access this place quite easily if you know about it. If you go to the entrance of the Timbermore Hold in Winterspring and then run up the mountain next to it, you can do some wall jumping and jump across the trees so that you can position yourself at the top of a mountain. Now once you go past the mountain line, you will see that the floor texture actually contradicts each other. You're kind of stuck in between different zones and the floor texture doesn't really know what to do with itself. The floor is kind of cut between Winterspring, Fellwood and Darkshore, so the ground looks pretty wild. So if you just follow the path and go up north, you will see that there's a place that you can jump down to. So getting down here without dying is really hard, and I don't think there's many ways to get down here unless you have something that can interrupt falling damage. So make sure you can bring some kind of item that can give you slow fall. If you look down, you can see there's a whole village just randomly in the middle of these mountains. The first thing you'll notice is that there's a ton of NPCs here. Specifically these trolls that are dancing. There are so many trolls here that actually belong to the Horde. So technically as an Alliance player you can kill these and get some XP from them. And some Alliance players do that, as this place is actually theorized to be a pretty good place to do some AoE farming for a high level 15 mage. So who knows, you might want to level up here if you want to avoid people ganking you if you're an Alliance player. But this village is quite comprehensive. There's a bunch of structures around here, and there's some named NPCs that what I can only theorize to be planned to be NPCs for the Horde to interact with. You can see what looks to be an innkeeper here, as well as some NPCs that I would guess would be vendors. I'm pretty sure that this place was designed to be a Horde hub that was unreleased. Whatever they were planning for this place, they never finished it and it just left it in the mountains. This place isn't listed anywhere, you're in between different zones, as there's no official way to access this place. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel. This is vaulty, signing out.